Welcome back to another Reflect News video. Today we've got an amazing moment that happened in the Judiciary Committee. Actually, two moments, one from Eric Swalwell, the other from Adam Schiff, because Donald Trump was on Capitol Hill today in one of the most pathetic moments in Capitol Hill history, when a man who tried to orchestrate an insurrection against the members of Congress after the 2020 election was invited back by the GOP because he's their presidential hopeful again. Truly pathetic. And both Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff did not let Republicans off the hook. We're going to start with Eric Swalwell, go directly into Adam Schiff, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Just a show of hands for anyone in the room who hung out with a felon today. Hey guys, probably want to get your hands up if you were hanging out with convicted felon Donald Trump. I don't think anyone on our side did, but that's why we're here. Ambassador Eisen, what city did Donald Trump commit his crimes in?
In New York City, Mr.
Where were the jurors drawn from for Donald Trump's trial?
From Manhattan.
Did defendant Trump have a say in picking his jury?
I was there for it. There was a vigorous voir dire. His defense counsel were extremely active and I thought effective.
And after that jury of his peers, his neighbors, deliberated, they had to make 34 decisions. 12 jurors, 34 decisions. What did they say?
They decided 34 times that Donald Trump falsified documents to cover up his 2016 criminal election interference scheme. 408
straight times they said the word guilty. Now let's transfer or fast forward to another trial that took place recently. The president's son, Hunter Biden, he tried to plead, was not able to do that. He was found guilty, and actually I heard your side and Fox News celebrating the verdict, celebrating the idea that a jury of his peers found him guilty. So again, when it hurts their guy, it's a rigged jury. When it hurts the president's son, we celebrate the jury. I want to talk a little bit about judicial bias, because they've suggested that there's a bias that occurred in this case. Ambassador Eisen, in Donald Trump's other case, where he's alleged to have stolen national security secrets, who appointed the judge to the bench in the Southern Florida federal case?
Unlike the special counsel in the Hunter Biden prosecution, who is a Trump holdover, David Weiss, that was a last minute, referring back to our history, midnight appointment, you can call it, by Donald Trump of Judge Eileen Cannon.
Are you kidding me? Donald Trump is complaining about bias in his case, and he's on trial for stealing national security documents with a judge that he appointed? Well, that's interesting. I didn't hear any of you all talking about that. Well, let's talk about the Supreme Court, who's deciding whether he has absolute immunity and can send the Navy SEALs to kill any of his opponents, as he alleges in his arguments that he can do. One judge is flying an insurrection flag in solidarity with the insurrection on January 6th that tried to overturn Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election. Another judge's wife was at the president's speech on January 6th, right before the insurrection occurred. But Ambassador Eisen, I want to talk about, now that he's a convicted felon, declared 408 times guilty by his neighbors, are convicted felons allowed to hold a security clearance?
No.
Are convicted felons allowed to serve in the military?
No.
Are convicted felons allowed to visit most countries?
There's a long list of countries they cannot visit.
And typically, the terms of probation for a convicted felon, do they allow you to hang out with other felons?
That's prohibited. There are other prohibitions, such as gun ownership.
That's probably going to be a problem if your friends are criminals like Paul Manafort, who was Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Vice Chairman of the campaign, Rick Gates, aide to the campaign and convicted felon Roger Stone, Former White House aide, also convicted, Peter Navarro. Steve Bannon, also a convict, on his way to jail soon. Former National Security Advisor, also a convict, Michael Flynn. And his accountant, Alan Weisselberg, currently in custody right now. But this is the person who you all chose to hang out with this morning, delaying the original start time of our hearing because rather than getting work done for people who need us to work, you chose a felon over helping families. We're going to flip that, and we're going to choose families over felons, and I yield back.
I want to begin by quoting the jury in the Manhattan hush money payment trial. Guilty, 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 guilty. This was what the jury pronounced unanimously on every count. My Republican colleagues don't really contest Donald Trump's guilt. This is the fascinating thing. Their argument is essentially he should never have been prosecuted, or they falsely claim it was a political prosecution, or they falsely claim it should have been a misdemeanor, not a felony. But they don't contest, not really, that Donald Trump was making hush money payments to a porn star to hide their affair from voters. What they're really saying is they're more than comfortable nominating and electing as the President of the United States someone making hush money payments to a porn star. The party formerly of the moral majority is now, I suppose, hoping to fashion some kind of immoral majority to reinstate Donald Trump as president. The presidency, the most powerful office in the world, and not the most powerful because of the size of our military, but because of the power of our ideas. And what is the animating idea of a Trump presidency? It is dictatorship. It is power at all costs. And this is also tragically the animating idea of the Republicans on this committee. Power at all costs. What else can explain what it would profit them to give up their political soul but a world of power? Ambassador Eisen, I want to ask historian Eisen a question. Is there any period of our history that sheds light on what we're going through today? Have we ever seen one party or the other so completely abandon oath to the Constitution, commitment to truth, commitment to decency, so willing to tear down the rule of law, our institutions, our justice system, anything that gets in the way of power? Have we ever seen anything like this?
Three periods come to mind, Mr. Schiff. The first is the founding period, and in particular, the ferment between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution, when the founders and the framers, famously the Federalist Papers, a passage you know well, worried about that in that period of instability, a tyrant would arise. That was resolved by one of the fortunate accidents, not just in American history, but I dare say in the history of the world, George Washington's establishing the tradition of peaceful transition that Donald Trump ultimately broke for the first time in our history. Number two, the Civil War period, when we had those within who also proclaimed that they would not accept American rule of law. And That period of divisiveness is also found in the post-Civil War era, the decline of Reconstruction, that assault on our constitutional system that became the Jim Crow era. Those are three precedents. We see other dangers, including here in Congress, the period of McCarthyism. Donald Trump represents the most grave danger to this country, at least since the end of Jim Crow, very likely since the commencement of the Civil War, and perhaps since the founding of our nation from within.
Thank you, Ambassador. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Now, you've got to love the passion from the ambassador there, absolutely nailing Donald Trump to the wall with historical references. People like that ambassador, the passion that they have, their historical knowledge, they give me hope for the country. They give me hope for our government, as does Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, of course, saying guilty 34 times in the Judiciary Committee hearing is just beautiful. Eric Swalwell, I thought, did a fantastic job, starting by saying, hey, raise your hands if you hung out with a felon, and then ending by saying, hey, you know what's really interesting? Felons can't hang out with other felons. And then he lists the names of all the people in Donald Trump's inner circle in his first administration and the campaign leading up to it. And then says, oh, what's really funny is that you guys chose to hang out with a felon. I just thought those clips are so important to the election that's coming up. You've got the GOP, who is truly pathetic and desperate to hold on and cling to any power that they have in the House and try to get power in this election, which is not going to happen, largely because of people like the three that we talked about here, the ambassador, Swalwell, and Schiff, and moments like this, when the American public in the months leading up to the election see moment after moment, they are going to be so angry that Donald Trump is running again, that this the victory by Joe Biden will be one of the biggest electoral victories in history. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think, what your reflections are in the comments. Did you like Adam Schiff? Did you like Eric Swalwell? Did you like the ambassador? Did you like all three? What do you think about Republicans are trying to do with the Judiciary Committee hearing? Lots to talk about and reflect on. I will see you in the comments. Again, my name is Brendan Plank with Reflect here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.